نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Starting in the name of Allah, who is the most beneficent and the merciful, who is the glorious creator of all the universe, everything within it and out of it. Gentlemen, as we all know, today is the day of Giarhveen. We have gathered here to commemorate a personality who has a great significance in the Islamic history, not in the just Islamic history, but in the spirituality of the Islam. We are talking about a great person of Islamic history who is known by many names: Ghose Azam, Ghose Sakalain, Shahbaz-e Lamakani, Qutb-e Rabbani, Ghose Samdani, Huzur Sayyidina Ghose Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Many names. But what is the significance of this personality? Why have we gathered here? What is this concept? We called it the Giarhveen, the Mehfil, the gathering of Giarhveen. Is there any Quranic hadith evidence behind this? Has the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has done this? Has the Sahaba done this? These questions arose day by day. We daily hear these questions. The answer is to this, that when we see the seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the things that we do in this gathering are individually done by the Sahaba, and not only by the Sahaba, in the supervision of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First of all, the recitation of Quran. We start the gathering, we start this Mehfil with what? The recitation of Quran. And isn't it the thing that Allah's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu has done it? One day a hadith of Hazrat Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam asked him to recite the Quran in front of him. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wondered that, oh Allah's Prophet, that I will recite Quran in front of you. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, yes, you will recite. Then Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu recited the Quran on the wish of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Just like that, we all know the Hassan bin Sabit radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, a great Sahabi of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. We know that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to ask him, used to say him, Hassan, read my Naat. Read my Naat Shareef. He's the great famous Sahabi for this only purpose. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to ask him this. And we know that Dars Waz was the daily routine of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And when we gather these multiple blessings, these multiple doings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, people criticize it. Why? Isn't it the same concept? Isn't it the same thing? If we tear out the cover of biasness, the cover that without doing any biased decision, if we see, isn't it the same concept? Gentlemen, we are doing as the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam done. We are asking one person to recite the Quran. We are asking one person to recite the Naat Shareef. We are asking one person to do the Dars and Waz. These are the all doings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And why it is associated with the Giarhveen Shareef? Giarhveen Shareef, because it is association of the great saint of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Huzur Shahbaz-e Lamakani. The greatness of this saint, the Piran-e-Pir, the Pir of Piran, the greatest saint of Islam, one of the greatest personalities the history has ever seen, the Islamic history has ever seen. We are talking about the Ghose Samdani. We are talking about the Ghose Azam radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. There are many occasions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed him with. But I will just put one in front of you. There was a muhaddith of his time, Ibn Jawzi, rahimallahu ta'ala, a great criticizer, his great criticist of his time. Hazrat Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani's criticizer. Ibn Jawzi was a great criticizer. He wrote books on him, criticizing him. When there was a murid of Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, who used to came to Ibn Jawzi for the hadith, for the teaching of hadith. Because he was a muhaddis, he used to teach the fiqh and hadith. And Ibn Jawzi used to criticize him. Now one day, his companion asked that why don't you go to that personality who you criticize? Why don't you once try to see what is he? You criticize him, you have written a book against him. Why don't you come and see? Ibn Jawzi said, why not? He goes to the Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. Without showing his identity, he covered himself with a shawl. And Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani was doing the dars and wa'az at that time. He was reciting the tafsir of Quran, the interpretation of Quran. And Ibn Jawzi, when Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, the Ghose Azam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, recited the Quranic verse and tried and started the tafsir of that verse. Hazrat Ibn Jawzi said to that companion, I know this interpretation, I know this tafsir. When Shaykh Abdul Qadir recited the second tafsir, the second interpretation, as Ibn Jawzi said, I also know that. The third interpretation, Ibn Jawzi said, I also know that. 11 interpretations Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani recited and done. And Hazrat Ibn Jawzi said, I know all of them. But when the 11 completed, Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani started the 12th interpretation. Hazrat Ibn Jawzi said, I didn't knew it. In the 13th one, Hazrat Ibn Jawzi again said, I didn't knew this. And the 14th, the 15th, Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani continuously, in one instance, done 40 more than 40 interpretations, the tafsir of Quran only of one verse. 40 interpretations of only one verse was done by Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. And Hazrat Ibn Jawzi, he was wondered that how a man could only one verse. It is the only one verse of Quran. I am the muhaddis of this time and I know only 11 interpretations. And he has recited 40 plus 40, more than 40 interpretations of Quran's verse. Then when Hazrat Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani said this was the past, now we come to the future and present. This was the call, now we'll go to the hal. These were the wordings of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. And what Ibn Jawzi stood up and torn apart his shirt and said, Allahu Akbar. Hazrat Ibn Jawzi pledged his allegiance to him. That stop right there. I was here to criticize you. I was here to show you lesser your dignity. But what I have seen, you're the legend. This was the greatness of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani. One verse is more than 40 interpretations, and yet continuing. Even the greatest criticizers, his greatest criticizers, were wondered by his greatness. This is the greatness of the personality that we, in whose commemoration we have gathered here. This is the greatness of Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani rahmatullah ta'ala alayh. So this is the message of today. Follow the teachings of Quran. Follow the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Follow the footsteps of saints of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they have done so. And these doings have led them and made them the greatest in their time, and not only in their time, but they are written their names with golden inks in the history. Jazakallah subhanahu.